You're listening to the Play Therapy Podcast with Dr. Brenna Hicks, your source for centered and focused play therapy coaching.
Hi, I'm Dr. Brenna Hicks, the Kid Counselor. This is the Play Therapy Podcast where you get a masterclass in child-centered play therapy and practical support and application for your work with children and their families. In today's episode, I am answering a question from Megan in DC. Actually, two questions. I shouldn't have said one. It's two, and they're not really related, so I guess we'll treat them as distinct and separate. So one is about a client working on self-esteem and a little bit of confusion about what to say. And then the second is about separation anxiety. So Megan, thank you so much for the questions, and we'll read parts of them and then we'll dive in together. I have a question about a client who seems to be working on esteem building, but I'm having a hard time figuring out how to respond in a specific situation. She often asks me what I think about things, and I validate her feelings. After a few rounds of that, instead of asking me, she will just tell me what to say. For example, do you like my drawing? Say yes. If a child is directing me to respond in a specific way, should I comply? I always do during first-person play, like if a child was a teacher and they assigned me to be a student, but I was curious in this situation. All right, let me pause there before I get to the next question. So this is something that is quite tricky to navigate for a lot of clinicians. So Megan, thank you so much for this question. I think this is really helpful. One of the things that we're always trying to do is be mindful that the focus should be on the child. It should never be about our thoughts, our feelings, our opinions. But sometimes kids are very demanding and insistent that they want us to provide those things. Often the workaround is we reflect feelings, or we feign ignorance, or we stall until the child gives up on waiting for an answer or answers for us. So those are kind of the three typical strategies for not answering a question. So when a kid says, do you like my drawing? We're obviously not going to say yes or no. And so that can be tricky. Those are the three go-tos for how we kind of work around that. However, in this case, Megan, when the child says, do you like my drawing? Say yes. We now know a much more important component to this. We understand that if a child is saying, do you like this? Do you think this is pretty? Did I do a good job? Is this amazing? Do you think that I am the first place winner of the whatever? Those are the questions we get asked frequently. And we can clinically understand they are validation seeking, praise needy, low self-esteem, trying to sort out identity and worth and value kids. That would be an easy analysis from a very high level of a child that is constantly wanting our opinion about things. That is a pretty easy synopsis. However, when we're not providing the commentary that they're used to, and let me sidebar really quickly, we are probably almost exclusively the only person in that child's life that does not praise them. Therefore, they're used to saying, do you like this? I love it. It's amazing. It's beautiful. You did such a good job. Praise, 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 praise. External validation. Your worth is dependent on my opinion. Okay. So when a child is conditioned to ask a question, get a response, and then feel better, that's a closed loop. When we say, oh, you're wondering what I think, but in here you get to decide, it rocks their boat because now the loop didn't get closed, first of all. Second of all, they didn't get validated. Third, they still don't know what you think. And they're consumed with it because I need you to tell me that I have value. I need you to tell me that I'm important. I need you to tell me that I pleased you. And they don't know how to handle not having that response. So when a child says, do you like my drawing? Say yes. She closed the loop. Okay, if you're not going to say it on your own, I'm going to tell you to say it to me. And in that scenario, we would. You want me to tell you that I like your drawing? Yes, I like your drawing. Notice how I didn't just say, yes, I like it. I reflected content first to make it very clear that I'm doing what I'm told. That's a huge distinction in a session, y'all. If a child says, go do that, say yes, whatever the demand is, we are always, absolute on purpose, going to acknowledge what we were told and then comply. Because we never want it to be misconstrued that we just said, I do like your drawing. You want me to say that I like your drawing? Yes, I like your drawing. Then it's very clear, I'm doing what you've asked, rather than I'm giving you praise. And if we hold that as a dyad, if you will, I will say what you tell me to say or do what you tell me to do, but I'm going to make it very clear that I'm following instructions. That's the way it still remains about the child and not about us. And also be mindful, Megan, and really for all of us, this little girl that, do you like my drawing? Say yes. Over time, she will stop asking and she will stop needing an answer from you. And ideally, she gets to a point where she starts saying, I like this. And she's working toward that. We know this is meaningful work, even when she's asking what you think and telling you to agree. All right, so now let's tackle the second question. I have a question about separation anxiety. I'm a school-based child-centered play therapist, and I'm struggling with a new student. Being school-based is different in the sense that I'm there in the morning when they are experiencing a full-on tantrum due to their separation anxiety. For the past 2 weeks since school started, he takes an hour to calm down once he gets to school, and the separation is very hard. At this point, he has been passed around person to person through the school while he tantrums, and each person has a range of ways they are dealing with it, like letting him call his mom, ignoring him, pulling him into the classroom, holding him, making him false promises, etc. I know all of this is exacerbating the situation. I am sure it is. He has now been referred to me for therapy, but I was wondering, how do you think his entrance into the school should be handled while he's at his peak moment of separation anxiety? What would you say or do? What would you recommend for parents to do at home to prepare for the separation in the morning at the school? And lastly, how should the school staff respond to the situation? Thank you for any advice. I got pulled into the situation today. He was put into my office and he cried for an hour. It was very hard and I want to help, but I felt so overwhelmed I didn't even know where to start. All right. So, Megan, I think first and foremost, you have to advocate for this little boy. And what that means in this scenario is you become the point person. In other words, we can't have 8 different staff people all involved. It's like too many cooks in the kitchen, right? Too many hands in the cookie jar, whatever analogy you want to throw in there. You can't have so many people involved because exactly what you're describing is going to happen. They're all dealing with it in different ways, and he's getting mixed messages. He's not feeling safe. He's not feeling like he can trust anyone or anything. And it keeps shifting and it keeps changing and it's a new person. And so what we're going to do, especially since you're the school-based CCPT, you're going to make the case that you need to be the single point person. So please instruct every teacher, staff, whomever to just call me or bring him directly to me. So encourage them to know how best to help him. Just make sure that as soon as possible, the child and I are together. Come get me, call for me, bring him to me, whatever. Please make sure that as soon as possible, it's just me and the child. Okay, so that will alleviate some of all of the confusion and making everything worse. And what can you do? Well, you're going to have to sit in the pocket of that. He has no coping. He has no self-control. He has no emotional vocabulary. All of that will build over time. But right now, he needs someone that is willing to acknowledge how he feels and sit in the pocket of it with him. And quite honestly, let him feel it. We don't try to stop a kid from crying. We don't try to distract a child from their feelings. We don't try to help them feel better. We don't try to solve the problem. We don't kowtow and give in. We're not making concessions for the child so that he'll stop. You sit in the pocket of the emotion and you reflect feeling. And you wait, because what the child will learn is No one's rescuing me. No one's saving me from this. No one's taking me out of this. No one's making this better. I guess I better sort this out for myself. That's exactly what we want. Self-control, self-regulation, resilience, coping, problem solving, on and on. So you're really sad. You're really upset. If he's mad, sometimes kids get mad in situations like that because they're trying to mask their vulnerability. So you're really angry that you're in here with me. And you calmly, neutrally, consistently just reflect and you just wait it out. He will eventually calm down. He will eventually regulate himself. And he has to learn that he can do it. Emotions are so big when anxiety is involved. He feels overwhelmed and he feels like he cannot handle life without his mom, his dad, whomever it is that he doesn't want to be apart from. And he will learn that he is capable of handling life without them, but he has to test and prove that theory. And he has to have one person that will give him the time, the tools, and the opportunity to do it. And so, Megan, that ideally would be you. As far as what should parents say or do, they should be equipped with choice-giving language. So, you really wish that I could stay at school, but school's not for moms and dads. It's just for kids and teachers. So if you choose to go into your classroom, you choose for me to pick you up as soon as school is over. If you choose for me to walk you to your classroom, or you can choose for me to drop you off at the car line, which do you choose? Okay, we're trying to give choices, but we're trying to make it clear school is non-negotiable. Mom staying is not an option. Child calling her as soon as he gets to school, not an option. There are standards of being in school, and we're going to help child understand that, help understand expectations, yet at the same time, giving him some choices. Choices are going to be very important. So you can choose for me to walk you to your classroom. You can choose for me to drop you off here. You can choose for me to pick you up in car line, or you can choose for me to pick you up in the office. You can choose for me to get you here at 8:10, or you can choose for me to get you here at 8:15. And all the while, it's acknowledge his feeling. You really wish I could stay. You really don't like it when I drop you off, et cetera, but it's time for school. But kids go to school without their moms and dads. Neutral limit. So they need to get on board with providing that. And that has to be at a neutral time, not in the morning when he's already having a meltdown. That has to be at like 6 p.m. the night before. When the child is calm and neutral, that's when you want to set that limit. And then how should school staff respond? I mean, I think I already kind of addressed that. You can either equip them with CCPT approaches, but I think the easiest approach would be you become the single point person for that. But maybe, Megan, you need to talk to the powers that be and see if you can do an in-service for teachers and staff and teach them some basic CCPT interaction. And then you could get the whole school using some of the pillars, and I think that would help all the students. So just a thought there. I'm winking at you. All right. So Megan, thank you for the questions. And I hope that's helpful for each of us. You know, these are tricky scenarios. And I think the more confident we feel, the more equipped we feel, the more adherent to the model we can be. So I appreciate y'all. Love you. Have a great week. We'll talk again. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Play Therapy Podcast with Dr. Brenna Hicks. For more episodes and resources, please go to www.playtherapypodcast.com.